Hey everyone, welcome back to The Great Retention with Camber Parker, sponsored by the YoProKnow. I'm Camber, founder and CEO of the YoProKnow, where we bring you strategies to cultivate a dynamic and multi-generational workforce that creates an environment where all generations thrive. Whether you're looking to enhance cross-generational communication or secure your company's future with dedicated professionals, we've got you covered. Today, I am thrilled to bring you a very special episode of The Great Retention. We are here with the Director of Fun, love that, and co-owner of the Savannah Bananas, Emily Cole. We've been waiting a long time to talk to Emily as the party animals were here in Greenville this past July, and we have been watching the Savannah Bananas and party animals' popularity just continue to grow. So, Emily, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I love this topic and love your show. Happy to be here.
And it really is probably important for us to share to some of the listeners who are like, how did you get the Savannah Bananas on your show, Camber? Like, what's the connection there? And for those who might be unfamiliar, there was actually one viral clip that we're going to talk about later that really caught our attention. And it was about your process to, hiring these team members and these players and members of your staff. And so we're going to get to that in a little bit, but that was what really caught our team's attention. And we were like, we've got to talk to them about this. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. But before we do, Emily, let's do a little lightning round. So I'd love to, in a couple of sentences or less, answer these questions. So first, tell us something that is not on your resume. So something people wouldn't know just by looking at a piece of paper.
My husband and I are foster parents. So
Very
that's
cool.
something that has been in our hearts for the last 4 or 5 years and something we're really passionate about now. But yeah, just by looking at us, you can't tell.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Good for you guys. That's really amazing. What is a fun fact about the Savannah Bananas that most people don't know?
I would say that we are as goofy and family oriented as we really appear online. Most people think that it is a little scripted.
Mm-hmm.
And while we script the emotions that people will feel at a game, we really have become a family of 250 people. We're in each other's weddings and at each other's baby showers. And we really are just a bunch of best friends traveling the country together. So that's always kind of a surprise to people that we really do get along.
It's super cool to hear. And as somebody who has followed the journey on social media, I love to hear that. So thank you for sharing that. If you could describe the Savannah Bananas culture in one word, what would it be?
Family. Yeah, I just alluded to that, but we really are. We've kind of broken down those walls, and you'll hear advice from people all over saying, oh, you shouldn't say love in the workplace or whatever. But we are the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I are obviously married and run the company together. And there are tons of other couples who work in the company and lots of best friends and just a family from all angles.
Wow. Well, I'm excited to learn more about that. So last lightning round question. What is your preferred communication style?
I would say direct texting. Probably not something you hear often. I have 3 little kids and a lot of things going on.
Yep.
And so I've kind of moved away from my younger years of wanting to have walk-in talks and casually bring things up. Now it's like, shoot me a text, tell me the details, and we'll dive into it when we can. But yeah, direct and texting.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's dive into this really fun topic and conversation today. I mean, as the, director of fun, I know we're going to get to that in a little bit, but give us a little bit more background on you that we might not have covered in the intro, whether that's personal or professional, and also just a great place to share more about the Savannah Bananas and party animals for those who might not be familiar.
So I originally went to school for marketing, PR. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but loved sports, loved community. And it's something that now when I speak to classes and students that I really encourage is just go out and get your hands dirty and do things. So I graduated with a marketing degree. I thought it was this, big, sexy word, and it was going to be an amazing career for me. And then I started working in a cubicle by myself, staring at a screen all day. And it just wasn't my personality. And so this dream marketing job that I thought I'd landed wasn't ideal. And so I went out and I got a part-time job in the evenings working at a ballpark just to do something fun. And that is what turned into a career full of passion. And so I would never have found that if I hadn't gone and done something fun,
Yeah.
on the side, not for money, not for the career, not for the, not for anything other than to try something.
Hmm.
And that's what led to where I am now. So
How
part-time
cool.
jobs, internships,
Yeah.
getting your hands dirty. It's just, I think it's so important. And that's how I ended up where I am.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And just to see like how far you've come, right? From that cubicle to, literally in a ballpark and so many other really amazing places. I love seeing that trajectory. And again, just to make sure some of our audience members might not know Savannah Bananas, although I'm sure there's few because you guys have done such a great job at marketing yourselves. But just again, kind of a pitch on who are the Savannah Bananas and anything that might allude to the history and how you guys got here in such a short period of time.
I actually love meeting people who don't know who we are because it means that we have an opportunity to make more fans. And that's what it's all about for us. So my husband, Jesse, and I have both worked in the industry basically since we left college. And we worked for many teams that were just normal baseball teams. And both of us had this drive to create something more. We saw this trend across the country where attendance records or attendance numbers and little league numbers, they're all declining. And so what's happening to this great American pastime that people loved so much? The numbers aren't there anymore. And so both of us had this drive. And when we ended up getting together, finding that we had that same passion, we really set out to make sure that the ballparks that we were at were always alive. They were full of community events. They had tons of people. And we knew that the sport of baseball, statistics were showing us across the country, the sport itself was not becoming more popular. And so we had to do something different. And so we looked at it as an entertainment show versus a sporting event. Now we were able to attract moms and grandmas and kids and maybe the people who you don't normally see going to a regular baseball game. And so, of course, it started very, very different from where we are now, but we've just increased that entertainment, side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so 1% more every day, every game. Now we're a full blown entertainment act, basically with a sporting event going on in the background. And so a couple of years ago, we actually took this another step further. We left the baseball league that we were in and created our own sport called Banana Ball. Mm-hmm. And so this is a very fast paced, lots of different rules, very exciting, entertainment based sporting event. So it's got the basics of baseball, but we've introduced 11 rules that just make it more fun and exciting, like a 2-hour time limit. Fans catching a foul ball is an out. So the fans are included in the game. And so cool. We just introduced that. And so now we're basically in a league all of our own, mm-hmm. having fun, creating a sport and, creating joy around the country.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know if I knew that you guys just created this league on your own, which is really fantastic. And all of our listeners and viewers right now, go check out their online presence because that'll really tell you all you need to know. And then, there's lotteries now at this point to like go see your games, which is pretty impressive. So you guys set out on this mission to kind of increase viewership of baseball and the sport. And I would imagine you have achieved that in such a short period of time because I have like team members who were like, we were in the lottery here and we didn't get it. And my kids are devastated. Like people are, and the moms and the dads were upset. Like you've created this like just really cool culture. And I know that's why you're going to these bigger stadiums now and bigger places so you can host as many fans as possible.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we knew that the need was there, mm-hmm. but I don't think any of us had any idea how fast it would catch on. But yeah, there's over 3 million people on the lottery list now who want to try to get tickets to a game. And
wow.
Very honored and humbled with that.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Y'all have done a lot. So let's talk about, why, again, baseball, learning everything about y'all is so important to the context of today's show. But let's talk about multi-generational workplaces and environments. And you guys have just reached a really large multi-generational audience, right? You alluded to that before. It's reaching the moms, it's reaching the grandparents, it's reaching all generations. And so what and how do you encourage your relatively young team, based on what I can see on social media, to set up your game day environment to connect with audiences of all these generations? Like, what are you guys saying on the front end so that they're executing really just so well, it appears?
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. Honestly, for us, it has not been a focus of, hey, let's go after this demographic. Mm-hmm. The name of our company is Fans First Entertainment. And so for us, our mission is always putting the fans first. We focus on putting fans first and entertaining always. And so any single person who joins us, whether it's a player, an intern, a full-time staff member, they come in with that lens, putting the fans first and entertaining them. And the demographic doesn't necessarily matter. If it's a little kid coming in and we're saying, hey, fans first, entertain always, that might mean squatting down and giving a high five. If it means grandma is walking up to the gate and we're thinking fans first, entertain always, it means we're putting our arm out and helping walk her in. So everybody just has that lens of putting the fans first and entertaining them while we're doing that. And then we can kind of just use the mindset that we have been given in life to take care of them in whatever specific need that is. So from a coaching standpoint of our people, it's not necessarily, hey, this is what you do for little kids. This is what you do for adults. It's just do what's best. And it goes back to bringing in the right people, which of course we can dive into more, but every single person on our team is just an incredible human. They go through a very intense process of joining our team. And once they get to that point where they put on a uniform or they put on a staff polo, we are so confident in the person that they are and how they're going to treat people when they're out in the world. You know, I don't need to be looking over their shoulder. We don't need to be watching at all times. We just know how they're going to treat people.
Yeah.
And so that translates into putting on a great show for these people, regardless of the demographic. And fortunately, creating a lot of fans along the way.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, what I'm hearing, Emily, is, you adapt, right? Based on, like, it doesn't matter what demographic, what generation they're a part of, but when you do see them, you're like, okay, they're younger. We do need to maybe kneel down, right? Or if they are older, they might need help walking in. You're going to adapt based on that. And, if I may be as so bold to just kind of connect it to the work that we're doing, when we go in and talk across the country on how do you communicate across generations, the key takeaway is, yes, generational data is powerful and it can be helpful, but at the end of the day, no one's going to fit in a baby boomer box only, or a Gen X millennial baby boomer box, and so on. And so it goes back to, you have to go straight to the source. You have to go to your people. And so basically it's like I share all this generational data and then I'm like, okay, forget it, because you have to go to the people that you're working with and that you know. And so generations are important to understand, but it's not the end all be all. And so that's kind of what I'm hearing in how you guys adapt to that. But something that you also mentioned, you're starting to kind of talk about this culture that you have of family, of fans first. And I love that that's the name of your company. I think that's really, again, very culture focused. And the fact that, pretty much everybody from your staff to your players come in with this culture of fans first really kind of guides into my next question, which is, tell us and kind of set the stage about talking culture first, from the perspective of building this culture at your team and what we know and love of the Savannah Bananas. So really more specifically, what are the key elements that you focus on to developing a strong internal team culture? So this could be a good, place to kind of talk about that initial interview process. Like what happens that makes you say, okay, they're right for this job?
Yeah. For us, it starts months, if not years, before the person becomes a player or a team member for us. In jobs I've had in the past, or even how we used to do it, it was hire a person that you think you like, and then you do a 30, 60, 90 check-in with them, right? Once you get them started. We have kind of flipped that on its head, and we do all of that prior to offering the position. So first of all, we've fortunately now grown to a place where we have a wait list for hiring people. And this is not something that started right away.
Right.
It was very hard to convince people to come play for us or work for us in the beginning. But at this point now, we have a wait list. And so people are opting in and kind of saying, I'll wait my turn to be able to come work for us. Okay, well, that sounds great. But now you've got a pool of thousands of people. And so how do you whittle down and really find that right personality? And so our interview process could be 3, 6, 9 months, sometimes longer, of kind of courting somebody and having a relationship with them, but not fully committed yet. We are very big on flying people out to the city that we're in and working together with them. In our industry, it's very different from kind of sitting at a desk with somebody. We are in the trenches until 2 a.m. We are pulling tarp in the rain. You're in travel situations where you're stuck overnight in an airport. You're in situations that sometimes are not ideal, and sometimes our personalities shine through. And so we really want to get to know these people in those settings. And there's no way to do that unless you're actually in those settings with those people.
Yeah.
If we go to dinner, I'm not going to necessarily see how you're going to act at the end of a really long day if a fan walks up to you. I have to see you in that element. And so we're just very intentional on doing all of that legwork ahead of time. We will put all of that cost in for a year sometimes. We just flew somebody over from England to interview them and spend time with them. Wow. It's like we will put in that time and that cost and that effort up front to make sure that it's the right person. Of course, once they come on, there still has to be a lot of team building and things, but pretty much at a point of hiring, our entire staff knows who that person is. Our whole team and coaching staff knows who that player is. Everybody has been vouched for by somebody that we know, very much so at the point of just taking referrals from people we know rather than hiring blindly. And so I think just putting that intentionality into the prehab process rather than the rehab and going through situations with people, it has been crucial to us because, like I said, they're all just great humans. By the time I get to a point of hiring somebody, I trust them with my kids. We trust them with every part of the company. We trust them with all of our fans. And so we're just very intense on that hiring process. We get to know them as people. We invite their families. We talk to their parents. We talk to, just very abnormal things for a hiring process.
Yeah.
So, very different.
It is different. But I think, when we think of some of the similarities to, let's say a 9-to-5 corporate structure, or, we have a lot of audience members who are business leaders, and some of them manage small teams, some of them manage enterprise level teams, right? And I do think there's a lot of similarities. You often hear hire slow, fire fast, right? That's something that a lot of people talk about. And you guys hire slow, and it seems to have worked for you. And something that I also was thinking as you were sharing that last answer was, when we look at who you guys are hiring, I mean, these are people that are fan facing, right? They are customer facing. So you do have to put that extra effort in, because like any other organization, if somebody's client facing, that can have a significant impact on your reputation, on your legacy, on profitability, product productivity, all of the above. And so my other questions are, one, just because I'm curious, like, how big is the hiring team and the development team? Because I want to talk about kind of what happens once you do bring people in the door, because this is a big juncture, I feel like, that you guys are working on. So how many people are on the team? And then the next question is, what happens once they come in?
Yeah. So we do have a normal, nothing we do is normal, but we do have an HR department, I guess you could call it. We call it our people operations team.
Yeah.
And they, of course, do go through those first steps of just making sure everything matches up. We're making sure that resumes are spelled correctly, all your basic stuff. They're just receiving intakes. Our actual hiring team is our entire company. So we invite different people from different departments to be a part of every step of the hiring process. So, for example, if somebody is coming to meet one of our potential hires, we will have them come to our ballpark, and our operations team might walk around with them, just giving them a tour. Well, what they don't know is that operations team has strategically placed trash on the concourse. And so as they're walking around, the operations team is just saying, like, hey, can they think like us, where for my role, I'm operations, maybe I'm not in the marketing department, which is what we're hiring this person for, but do they see this is a fan's first moment? I'm going to get this trash out of the way, because truly everybody on our team is a janitor at some point or another. And so the operations team is a part of it from that sense.
Yeah, I love
we might have our video team take a new merchandise hire out to dinner just to get to know them as a person, but they're not just watching about, answers from the person. They're seeing, how do you treat the waiter or the waitress? Right. Because we know that we're a big family and we interact with tons of different people on the road, and we go out with our team to different venues, but we always want to be that best forward facing person. And so we invite people from all different departments. They're all looking for different things. And so when you think about who we're hiring, yes, there's a role that they have to fill and the talent has to be there. But for the most part, they're all just looking at different parts of, who is this human as a person? How are they going to interact? They talk to them about their families and their vacations and what they like to do. That stuff is more important to us than the role. We're growing so quickly and so rapidly. As long as you come in with an outlook of, hey, I can adapt, like you said earlier, I can pivot. I am a lifelong learner. I want to learn. As long as they have those things, we can teach them the skills. Right. So for the most part, we are hiring people who are just good people who we want to be around. at this point, a lot of the people who we're bringing on, honestly, are fans. They're people who have been
Mm,
at games, who love seeing us and being a part of the excitement and the energy and the culture. And like, I want to be a part of this at a bigger level than just
yeah.
coming and watching. And so at that point, we're already getting people who know a lot about us. It's really just us saying, hey, does your personality fit into what we are as a family here?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when you talk about the hiring team, it's really all of
It's
us. And so it's a
everyone.
very intense couple months. Once we commit to each other, it's another really intense couple months of involving that person in idea paloozas, which is where we all just kind of get together and come
Mhm.
up with different ideas. It's inviting them to different cities so that they can see what different parts of travel is like. You get them very involved very quickly, just to make sure that everything is still good. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, we continue to do the check-ins like everybody does, the 30,
Great.
60, 90s and all that stuff. But like I said, at that point, most people on the team are already comfortable with this person or this
Mhm.
player. They've gone through orientations. We're very careful before we hand over that name tag that everybody is comfortable with the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I love it's so fascinating to hear it. And again, thinking of how it's applicable to all of our listeners, thinking of the operations person that's walking with this potential candidate, what are the ways, and this is going to sound funny, but listeners of the show, what are the ways that you can kind of find the trash, so to speak, that you can use as something to figure out, is this person going to have the character that I want, right? Because that's really what we're talking about is, do they have
Yep.
what it takes to be teachable and fit in kind of seamlessly. But again, it's not due to a lack of time and intensivity on your part. So
Yeah.
really fascinating to hear. So thank you for sharing all of that. I want to shift gears a little bit to talking about our 2024 report that came out this year on benefits and wellness. We heard from many individuals, mostly young professionals, a little over 500 that we surveyed, and who said that the best work environment offers a healthy work-life balance, strong leadership, positive thinking, and is a company that upholds its values. And many young professionals and young talent like to, see companies that do honor the same values that they do. So from an outsider perspective, at least, from my perspective, Savannah Bananas certainly fits the bill there. I would say that based on what you've already shared and what I can see, you're already kind of in those buckets. But can you share how you got here and what strategies you've used to build this type of environment, and anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to benefits and wellness for your team?
Yeah, I'll be open. I don't think we are the best at a lot of the things that you listed off. I think that the commitment to us always trying to get better is something that is there. And we're very transparent about that. And so, fortunately, our people are just kind of sticking with us through these growing pains. And what I mean is, we've only been around for 9 or 10 years as the Savannah Bananas. A lot of us worked at teams prior, but this organization is not that old. We're kind of still in startup mode.
Mhm.
And when you're in startup mode, that work life balance is not always healthy.
Yeah, I feel
And we've
that.
had to be very careful and had to have a lot of conversations with our people. Fortunately, because of being transparent and because of being in an environment where everybody wants to work more. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but we all love being at the ballpark. We love being around fans. We are all very outgoing people who want to work on our own crafts and have fun while we're doing it. And so fortunately, we've brought people in who want to build something really special, and they all kind of have that ownership mentality. It's not a requirement, but when we interview, again, as part of this very intense process, we're saying this is what it's going to be like. And we bring them along to show them, hey, we have 3 games in a row. Each of those days in a row are going to be 18-hour days. And then you're going to fly home on a red eye. We walk them through that. And so they see how intense that is. And so while I wish I could say that the work life balance is perfect, it's not. And we know that, but we are very transparent about that. So I think
That's
that
key.
that's number one,
Yep.
is just
Thank you for being
being open.
honest.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. We do really try to take care of our people. So from a compensation, from a benefit standpoint, that is something that we have not and will not ever cut corners on. Compensation wise, I would argue very competitive, very fair, more than what they could expect at any other thing at this level. So
Mhm.
money wise, I think we're there, but we also know that that's not what all young people care about anymore,
Right.
right? There's so many other things.
Yeah.
And so we can check that box of, okay, we're paying them more than fairly. but there's so many other things that we have had to focus on. So from a benefit standpoint, it is that healthy living. It is that including your family. It is the gym memberships. It's all the other things that young people especially want. I say that just because I think the average age in our office is like 24, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But to another point there, I hate when people say, oh, young people don't want to work or people don't work like they used to. I'm like, man, I've got an office.
Yeah, you're
full of
like,
young,
not the case
people.
here.
Exactly. But we know that it isn't just a paycheck for them. And so we have gotten very close as an office. We listen to them. We try to do a lot of fun surprise things. We take our staff on cruises. We go on shopping sprees. We will set up a random fun massage day in the office where a masseuse will come in with a barber and they'll cut everybody's hair.
Gosh.
While that's happening, somebody's detailing their car outside.
Right.
And so, I mean, these aren't things that happen every week, and these aren't super expensive things, but they are hopefully little things that show our people that we care for them. And so that is kind of that over the top, beyond the paycheck, how do we care for you type of benefit.
Right.
And so I think those are probably our leading most important things from a culture standpoint, is that we try to be very open and transparent with people as we are growing, as we are doing something new every year. We're going to new cities and growing so much, and then just taking care of them in a way that they might not be taken care of elsewhere. And it's never that. We want people to want to be here, and not just because of a competition between us and another company. But we try to get to know them, and we try to do things on a personal level for them specifically and their family. And fortunately, we've had a lot of people stay for a long time. So
that's really amazing. And I love hearing, it's being transparent. It's setting the expectations, right? So work-life balance. And again, I appreciate your honesty, but you are doing a lot of the things that I talked about, right? You have this culture of positive thinking, strong leadership. Your beliefs, I can only imagine, are the reason, and values are the reason that people have stayed for how long they've stayed. So again, you take care of your people, and that's where you start to see the retention and attraction success. So thank you for sharing all of that. In one of the videos that has circulated across social media, your husband and co-owner, Jesse Cole, talks about the unique approach you take in the hiring process, right? So we've talked a lot about that, one of which we didn't touch on yet, which was including asking for a video cover letter, a fan's first essay, and a future resume. So this was what really stopped us. And so I want to make sure we talk about it, because we were like, wait, this could be a really great angle for the podcast. And I don't necessarily think it's something that a lot of our companies that we work with can discredit. I think a lot of them could even utilize it. So can you tell us a little bit more about this? Because I'm so curious.
Yeah, I love talking about these things, because really what we do, we try to do everything different. And the hiring process is exactly that. We do it very different from other people, but fortunately we've brought in some amazing people because of it. So I'll break them each down a little bit. Video cover letter. It's not for everybody. It's not everybody's strong suit. You talk to people and they're terrified of public speaking, but in our world, we are very fan facing, as you said. And so we need people to come in with at least a little bit of confidence to be able to communicate correctly. We're looking for not taking yourself too seriously. We're looking for eye contact. I don't need you to give a speech perfectly through this video cover letter, but we are trying to get to know you as a person and just get an idea of what interactions with you would look like on the road or at a ballpark. How are you going to act as a person? And that video cover letter helps us get to know them and their personality. So while it might not be taken as seriously as if you were going to be a newscaster or something, I'm okay with that. We want to get to know you as a person. And so we really look for those quirks in the video, the fun thing, not taking yourself too seriously, the outfit that they're wearing. All of those things can go into us seeing if that person is going to jive with us. Fan's first essay is a little bit more traditional, I guess you could say, from a hiring process. We believe in some words in our office that we really revolve everything around. So we say they're the ABCs. So we are always, and then B are the first two words. So AB, always be, caring, different, enthusiastic, fun, growing, and hungry. And so those words are brought up all the time in all situations for our company. They're very important to us. And so what we ask people to do is go through those words and, for lack of a better term, use essay, write to us what those words mean to you, how you think you can impact our fans by each of those words. So we want to find somebody who's extremely caring. We want to find somebody who's very different, doesn't take themselves too seriously. We want to find somebody who's super fun. So when we get to know them as a person, by them using those examples, again, it helps us find if they are going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And then probably the most outrageous one is the future resume.
Yeah, I got to know more about this.
Yeah, most people are just very confused when they hear that, because across society, all we've been told is like, send in your resume. You can get put in the pile and you might get a job. We love the experience that you have had in the past, and hopefully it has led you to become a team member of ours. But what we want to know is, where do you want to go? What are your dreams? Where do you want to be in the future? What are you thinking about at night when you're not at work? How can we help you get there? Does this role help you get there? If we bring in somebody whose dream job is something completely different, we are going to butt heads. And at some point, we're going to part ways.
Yeah, not going to be a good fit.
And it just doesn't make sense. Why don't we team up on getting you to your dream job, and both of us will advance? Both of us will benefit. From a company standpoint and from an individual standpoint, we will both be in a better spot if we're working towards the same goals. And so the future resume is very interesting, because people are able to kind of sit back and be totally honest, which is usually hard in the hiring process. People always have their best face on. They tell you what they think you want to hear. And so we're able to kind of peel back layers and say, no, what's really important to you and to your family? Do you want to be in a leadership position? Do you want to have 10 kids and don't want to commit to a leadership position? Like, do you want to travel? Do you not want to travel? There's so many things you can find out about a person if you say, what do you look like in 10 years? And can we go on this path together? And so we really break down their future resume in conversations with them and make sure that we are aligned in many ways before we go to that next step in the hiring process.
I love that. And all three of these things companies can test out. They can utilize and create their own versions, right? Like looking at what are those words that they're looking for that align with those companies' values. And I do love the ABCs that you mentioned. So again, I'm just so blown away by all that you're doing. And so in the interest of time, we have a few more questions that I want to get to, but I've got to talk about social media for a second, right? Because how impactful has that been to your organization? Because that's how I found out about y'all. I mean, I am in the Southeast, right, in South Carolina, so not too far away from Savannah, but that was my first introduction a couple of years ago. And it's just been, I'm pretty sure at the time it was under 1 million followers still at the time, at least on Instagram. And since then, I follow several of your players. I feel like they're, friends. Like they just have this really, it's so cool. And so again, just for the listeners, encourage you to just check it out. But how impactful has online and just digital media been to the success of your business?
I think what it has done is it has helped us stand out in a way that we could have gotten lost. So social media has this negative connotation. A lot of people talk negatively about social media, and I understand there are negative aspects to it. What we've been able to do is exactly what you said. Our cast members, our players, our brands have just been able to connect with people, and people feel like they can identify with us. They feel like they get to know us. As we go to larger stadiums, or as fans can't necessarily see us if we're in a city they can't get to, they can still go online and still feel like they are a part of this family. They can feel like they're a part of this environment, and they get to know us on a deeper, more intimate level. And that's what we want to do. At the end of the day, we want to create joy. We want to create more fans. We want to connect with people. And so while social media has this stigma of disconnecting people, we try to look at it as the opposite of how do we use it as a tool for connection. Mm-hmm. Of course, ultimately, we would love to have everybody meet us in person at a game. But sometimes it's going to take a couple years for people to save up to take that bucket list trip across the country to come to Savannah. How can we keep them engaged? How can we connect with them along the way? Mm-hmm. And so, yes, we go about social media. We put a lot of thought into it. We're very intentional, but we go about it very differently. And all of our posts, everything that we put online, the thought is, does this make baseball look fun? Does this make us look fun? Is this something that people will smile at, will laugh at? Nothing that we put out is salesy. Nothing.
No, I can agree with that.
Everything that is out is to entertain you. And so, yes, it jumped a lot during COVID. And I think that mentality was very helpful. It's like people need joy right now. They need an escape. And we've just continued that for years. How do we create that entertainment and that joy to people? How do we bring it to them at their fingertips? And so that's really our whole outlook with social media. And fortunately, the videos are funny. They do get shared. And so that's why I think it has grown so much, is because we were so intensive on the right, using social for the right reasons. For us, it wasn't to reach a certain amount of followers.
Right.
It was to create more joy and to connect with more people.
And that's your focus.
Why I think it has been, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and something that I want to mention, because a lot of the consulting work that we do with organizations who are really struggling to attract and retain the next generation of talent, we tell them, digital media and having a really strong, authentic brand that is not salesy is a really powerful tool to attract and retain talent. So looking at your example, right, you've created this brand all rooted in this no sales, full on fan first entertainment. And that's gotten you the results that you are looking for. And we see it all the time. I mean, with our own team, like we really try to be as least sales oriented as possible. And it's all about our people. It's about telling stories. And it's also the power of social media is real. Like when we post online that we are looking for a game changer, somebody who's a jack of all trades. And, everything you were saying about a startup environment, I was like, I needed to hear this, because it's really critical for us to be transparent when we're hiring people, because it's going to change. It constantly is evolving. And so we have found that by being honest on social media has gotten us more interviews. It's gotten us more people who have come through the door, and followers and engagement come from that. So we've seen it in our own teams and also the clients we've worked with. So what I heard you say when you said we don't sell, like we are just being ourselves, and authenticity is what I heard.
Yeah.
So again,
that's
just
absolutely right.
I'm so impressed with all of this. And so I am going to ask you in a moment, just any other final words that you think we didn't get a chance to talk about that you want to leave our audience with. But before I do, looking ahead, where do the Savannah Bananas go next? Where does Fan First Entertainment go next? What does the future look like for you?
We, of course, have goals and dreams, but I will say that we are very quick to pivot. And for us, it's just always going to be about creating more fans. And so, for example, next week, we are going on a cruise with 2,500 of our biggest fans. We chartered a cruise ship, and we are cruising to the Bahamas with some of our biggest fans.
Oh my gosh.
I could not have guessed that 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't in the plans. But as we grow and as we evolve and think about how we want to connect with people, if opportunities come up, we will test it. And that's something that we as a company are not scared to do. We are very big on testing. We take small bets. Obviously, this is a big small bet, but we're doing one and we're seeing how it goes. And so that's kind of our mantra of testing and growing and figuring things out, is don't take yourself too seriously. If this is not going to tank the company, let's try it and learn from it. We are very okay with failure, and that what failure looks like to you might not look the same to us. To us, we see it as a learning opportunity. And so we're just very open to different opportunities and possibilities. And so where are we going? We're going in the direction of more fans. That's what we want to do. We want to create more joy in the world. We want to create more fans. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. And we're okay with that. We're okay with taking the phone call and looking at new opportunities that open up doors that we could never have even dreamed of.
Yeah.
But we know in general, that's our focus is to create more joy, more fans.
Very cool. Well, I think it's a really great way to wrap up kind of our structured portion of the episode today. But Emily, anything else that you really want to leave our audience with that you think will be relevant for them to know?
I know that sometimes it's hard to look at a baseball team and say, oh, well, my company can't do that. But whenever I'm talking to groups, I try to encourage them to do just that. Don't take themselves too seriously. Think like a baseball team. Think like somebody outside of your industry. Why does your hold music have to be the boring hold music that everybody else has? Why does your business card have to be white with black font on it?
Right.
Like, why does the accounting firm not have a mascot? it's easy to say, oh, you're in an industry where you can do those things. But I really think that the world could use more fun and that all of us would be more successful in our own lives, in our companies, if we just didn't take ourselves too seriously. And we said, well, why not? Why does it have to be like that? Mm-hmm. And so I just encourage people to think outside the box, to think different, to not take themselves too seriously, to test things. Try to think like an entertainment baseball team. It's totally fine for your company.
I can see that being the title of the episode now. Think like a baseball team. And I love it.
Banana ball team, I guess.
Yeah, a banana ball team. But I just think it's so refreshing to hear your take, because to the audience members listening and watching, you can apply some of these practices that we've talked about today, and maybe not all at once, right? But can you start small? And I think you guys you arrived at the right time. I know you said you're still young and you've been around for 9 to 10 years, but the post-pandemic workplace and just post-pandemic life is different than we ever knew it before, right? And so you guys provide this joy and entertainment that extends past people's, workplaces and what we're talking about here today. So again, I just really applaud you and the entire team, from the staff and the operations and merchandise all the way to the players. Kudos to you and what you and Jesse have built. I am just so grateful that you came on the show today, Emily.
Thanks so much for sharing, and love talking with you.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up today, folks, I do want to just take a couple minutes or a couple seconds and highlight some of my favorite takeaways from Emily's episode. Number one is everybody's involved in the hiring process, right? It does not just need to be your HR team. And it's okay to have a really lengthy process on the front end. I believe, what did you say? It was the prehab versus the rehab, right? That's important. Take care of your people, right? It sounds so simple, but take care of them and be transparent and set those really clear expectations. Don't worry about sales. Focus on your core focus, and the rest will come, and authenticity. And then my favorite, think like a banana ball team. So Emily, thank you again for being here. And thanks to our listeners for joining us again on The Great Retention. Before you go, remember this: the generational landscape is shifting, and the workforce as we know it is not the same workplace we knew in a pre-pandemic world. Our mission here at YPK is to help you save time and money by identifying these shifts and demystifying generational differences through our training, speaking, and consulting efforts. Contact us today if you're interested in transforming your multi-generational workforce, and let's drive your business towards long-term sustainability and success. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.